Welcome back. Today's video is not going to be an instructional video. Okay. Sorry for those of you tune in and look for a little bit of a education or some of the standpoints behind before performance type stuff. Today we're not going to be talking about engines. We're going to be talking about the entire industry of automobile racing. Over the last 24 hours, I've seen some posts on social media that just have made me kind of give up. Um, Folks, we have so many people willing to spend tons of money without the return of investment. For you hot rodders out there, how much money are you willing to stick into something? I'm just going to use an example. If you buy a 1978 Dodge Matador and you stick in $20,000 in the components within to that car, are you going to be able to get a return on the investment? Okay. As you own the car, it's not a return on investment to you. It might offer you some enjoyment, taking up some of your time to polish it or to modify it, to fix this, fix that. It's always a money pit. You're always spending money onto it until the point you sell it. And what's the resale value of a car in that condition? Okay, a completely stock variation would be a collector's item, and it's going to retain its blue book value for resale. Folks, nobody's taking the thought process into the racing industry of how much it's costing the actual racers or the spectators for that fact. The racing venues are also closing down by the hundreds every single year. A lot of it comes from piss poor management. Within the last week, I'm going to give you 3 examples of what I'm saying right here. So this is kind of a rant, but it should be something just to raise awareness of what's going on. If you are not seeing these type of prices in your area, consider yourself to be fairly lucky. Now, most of the controversy that I've been seeing is related to dirt track racing. So, whether it's the outlaws to sprint cars, the cost that the individuals are spending on their vehicles is insane. Absolutely insane. For example, just seen a video. Any one of you can tune in. It's right here on YouTube. Between the 360 and 410 cubic inch classes of the sprint car races. Individuals out in California are saying your entry level 360 is going to be in approximately the $50,000 range, or the 410 going upwards of $70,000 to $75,000. I'm sorry, folks, I do not know where any of the common sense is behind those type of power plants. Even if they are making 950 horsepower, how much traction are you getting from 950 horsepower through to the dirt? You can spin your tires as fast as you want. You are never going to achieve the full power capability of that engine, 950 horsepower. You're never going to put it to pavement. To be an equal comparison, a asphalt or hard surface circle track racing application with 600 horsepower is going to achieve greater speeds than a 950 horsepower vehicle on the dirt. Now, obviously, there's some more driver talent added into dirt track racing because you're going around the corners sideways, and depending on traction, the tire suspension, it will alter your entire racing experience, and it comes down more to the talent of the driver than hard surface type racing where cars are lined up, bumper to bumper. Chances of going from last place to first place, it's very rare. Where dirt track racing, the leader of the race can go from first to last like that, and depending on the racing field, you can have a person that's a lap down come back to win the race. But the amount of money, once again, and the the amount individuals are willing to stick into these cars is insane. Approximately a year ago, there was another YouTube channel that was covering two different chassis of hard asphalt circle track cars that he was building. One was a left-hander chassis, which I know very well. Another one was the metric chassis. Between just the chassis of the two cars was approximately $150,000. That was the rollers. Okay, that was not engine, transmission, tires, you name it. Their purse for winning the championship in their organization is $10,000 per year. For $150,000 worth of cars. Now, it was kind of funny when I seen this video and this content creator talking about how much money he had put into things. One of our local racers in the super late model ARCA series from central Wisconsin here was sponsored by one of the carbonated drinks, let's just call it that, I'm not going to sponsor for them, a carbonated drink manufacturer in the southeast part of the United States sponsored a local driver here in central Wisconsin. The car, motor, transmission, everything was built in my previous shop. I'm not going to name names. He annually transferred down to the southeastern parts of the United States, to the Carolinas, Tennessee, so on and so forth, Mississippi, to participate in their championship races. He won all three with a car, the total expense within the car of less than $30,000. Total. So these guys going out and spending the $150,000 plus for two cars, okay, let's be fair, $75,000 for the chassis, another $60,000 to $70,000 for the engine. They are not going to the track and winning. Guys with $30,000 cars are doing that. Now, within the last couple of hours, I've seen another sprint car episode containing the 360 and 410 engines of that $50,000 to $70,000 range. Okay, 850 horsepower, and they have to be rebuilt approximately every 2 weeks. Are you insane? While engines that are making 900 horsepower will last an entire season. Yes, they need to be refreshed, but typically it doesn't require head gaskets, so on and so forth. It's your typical maintenance type stuff, oil changes or changing out the valve springs. Other than that, it remains the same. These exact same videos, individuals in classes that are restricted to 2 barrels. Okay, so a 2-barrel Chevrolet 23-degree intake. The Edelbrock Victor Jr. 2-barrel that's required by most sanctioning bodies that use the 2-barrel, and a 2-barrel Holley carburetor. Individuals are paying $450 for a 2-barrel intake. $1,500 for a 2-barrel Holley. Who in the hell in their right mind is paying that amount? Apparently a lot of people are. The $500 variation of the Holley with a part number required by the classes is no different than the $1,500 variation that they're using in the dirt model classes. It's the exact same carburetor, identical. Even if you go to the extent to get it modified through a specific carburetor specialty, let's say Keith Dorton, you're looking at $650 to $700. You're still not at that $1,500 mark, folks. Absolutely insane. Now, there is one cost that I'm aware of, something that I actually commented to Chad Spires. If you guys don't know and follow along with his YouTube channel, he's pretty handy with porting cylinder heads, okay? He does a lot of these modifications for classes with restrictions. There's only 2 cylinder heads that the sanctioning body acknowledges being a legal cylinder head. The Edelbrock is one of them. Okay, outstanding, folks. Edelbrock is made in the United States. At least they're showing the sponsor of Edelbrock some some love, I guess, if you want to call it that. But in order to make the Edelbrock cylinder head worthy of the power output needed to compete in this class, they have to be completely welded up and reported. Adding the manpower, the hours into a set of cylinder heads that already cost the bare casting, that already cost $2,000. And then you stick in another $10,000 for a set of cylinder heads. What the hell's going on? Over the last 4 years, another gentleman here in the state of Wisconsin wanted to build the cheapest dirt racing car that he possibly could. And he dedicated 2 years of YouTube content, starting from the ground up, building the chassis, the motor, everything that he could possibly do on his own. Obviously, he put in the labor, so he wasn't paying somebody else the labor fees. But his component costs and time going into the car was approximately $40,000 from the ground up. In order to run within the LS class, which of racing that he is, the engine that he could use had to be a sealed crate engine. A 5.3 liter LS long block. Okay, so none of the accessories, the intake, so on and so forth. $6,500. That was 3 years ago. That same crate engine is now over $16,000 for a remanufactured factory 5.3, factory crank and connecting rods. The only thing modified is the pistons, piston rings, and the cam. $16,000? Are you insane? You can literally go to your pick-apart junkyard, pull out a 5.3, even something that's out of a collision circumstance, so not high mileage, maybe even 30,000 miles, change the cam and pistons, swap it in for less than $1,000. Okay, folks. Now, we can go back and look at other types of racing. Once again, this video is about racing. The different bodies, not chassis, different bodies of organizations, things they've done to try to make racing more affordable, to attract more racers to the track, so they provide more entertainment, to obviously attract more spectators. Racing series like Trans Am, where they would have a fleet of cars, say 20 cars, all built to the exact same specs. Same manufacturer, same everything. The cars numbered 1 through 20. And in order to race those cars, the drivers would show up at the track, pay a certain amount in order to compete. They would draw a number out of a hat to choose the car that they were going to race. Okay? All the cars treated exactly the same, built to the exact same specifications, you name it. That form of Trans Am series was even competed in by Dale Earnhardt. His Dodge Avenger series for a while. Okay, they had manufacturers from all different things, but the chassis were built around the exact same platforms. Even a few years ago, when Tony Stewart kind of organized the CRX racing series, all the cars manufactured in the same facility, all the engines built by the same crew. The only difference was the drivers that got into the cars to race them. It started stealing some of the limelight from NASCAR. Okay, it wasn't enough to pay for it and keep the series going. CRX closed down. Tony Stewart gave up on it. The insurances and cost of everything went up to the point where it's not affordable anymore, and it didn't draw in enough spectators. You can even go to these local dirt tracks. Folks, I don't care where you are from the United States. There are certain areas within the United States that dirt track racing has a much higher following than any other sport. Mainly in your Pennsylvania, some locations in California, and the Southeast. Okay, when you see the prices individuals are paying in Pennsylvania for their race cars or to be able to compete, they're multiplied many times over any other racing syndicate in the exact same type of competition across the United States. This 36410 build that I was talking about within YouTube creator or content, 50 to 75 grand is out of California. Okay. I used to build those engines when Kingsler mechanical fuel injection was fairly popular. The late 1990s, early 2000s, Kingsler dominated the fuel injection circuit. That was the only thing used for sprint cars, period. At that time, a fully built engine making 750 horsepower, granted, okay, this is 25 years ago, total cost of the entire driveline, engine, transmission, and rear end was 10 grand. That exact same car now in California is going for over $250,000. But you can go to eBay or Marketplace, okay, type in wind cars and look at the resale value and how long they've been sitting there waiting to be sold. They are guaranteed money pits. They will never give the user, the builder, a return on investment. The tracks are not bringing in enough racers or spectators to cover their costs. Even to the point where they're starting to get sketchy on their safety equipment. Their buffer zones between the racing surface and the fans. I believe it was a week ago. A local dirt track race, outlaw race, driver lost control, literally rode the fence until the entrance lane, killing one individual and seriously injuring two. No buffer zone from the front row of the spectators, less than 10 feet to the racing surface. A 4-foot thin concrete wall and a cable reinforced chain link fence. Folks, you wonder why tracks across the United States are closing down. The track owners are not keeping the tracks up to snuff with safety devices or areas. Guarantee that track that had that loss of life, they're done. They will never be given a license ever again. It's not just a matter of, oh, we have developers looking at racetracks and they want to tear them up for the land to build, whether it's a HOA or any industry. Look at the McFarland Ranch down in Florida. Okay? He's had to go to court multiple different times arguing, saying, you know, I'm grandfathered in. This track has been here for so long. We're not going to sell. Okay? Now laws have been passed from the Supreme Court of the United States stating that if you're grandfathered in, they can't push you out. Developers can't negotiate or dictate local authorities within the city governments to allow your property to be taken over for development. But it's tracks, racing organizations that do not impose the safety devices that are going to be closing. A few weeks ago, I did a video about the War in the Woods racetrack. They came out and said, "Oh, we spent $100,000 this year on safety upgrades, adding concrete blocks after the 300-foot mark along the drag strip." The very first weekend, a motorcyclist crashed into those concrete blocks. Another car rolled the guardrail and landed on top of those concrete blocks in flames. guaranteeing that that track, War in the Woods, is going to be shut down fairly soon. Even your smaller local tracks that might be 60, 70 years old and have not updated their safety things, insurance companies are not going to cover them anymore. The local authorities are not going to give them the leases or permits to be able to carry out the business. Now you start talking again with the additional cost, not only to the tracks and the racers, engines, so on and so forth. Look at all the different tire rules in every racing syndicate across the United States. Dirt track racing is probably the most stringent on their tires. They cannot even spray a handheld cleaner on their tires without being disqualified. Okay? You can have a car on the track that blows its engine and leaves an oil slick. You can drive through the oil slick, but your tires are, they're fine. But if you go to wash that oil off your tires are now illegal. Those individual rear tires, those sprint car tires, $660 a piece. And they have to be changed pretty much every other weekend, according to the track officials. Even locally, the big push for Hoosier tires, okay? Our local racing syndicates used to require that every racer had to run the Hoosier D-Series tires. The manufacturer would show up to the tracks in order to sell them to you. During COVID, the numbers went way down to where they didn't have the available tires to provide it. You were limited to one tire purchase per week, or 4 for the entire season. Folks, those tires would wear out after one 50-lap feature, causing those cars to become more dangerous, needing the additional safety requirements of the buffer zone, causing many cars of that $30,000 to $150,000 range to be wrecked. The tracks aren't replacing that money. The tire manufacturers aren't helping replace the vehicles. This year, our local central Wisconsin, basically Wisconsin as a whole, the organizations of Wisconsin have allowed additional tire manufacturers to be equipped on the cars. For half the price, and the life expectancy of those tires is one full season, not one 50-lap feature. Is allowing more individuals to go racing. There's getting to be more spectators at our races. So folks, it's not only NASCAR that some of the racing fans are disgusted with. After the loss of Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR has seen a massive decrease in spectators. Okay. Many of the former NASCAR tracks have been closed down to the point where they're looking at opening them back up, like Chicagoland. The tracks have to be brought up to the safety features in the most recent requirements of NASCAR. Chicagoland's going to need $25 million just to bring up to the safety features in order to carry out another NASCAR race. Look at the Generation 6 NASCAR chassis. There's nothing Chevrolet, Ford, or even Toyota about any one of the race cars. The rules are so strict that none of the manufacturers have an upper hand in any fashion or form. Their parts have to be identical. The parts have to be purchased from a certain manufacturer and cannot be altered by the time it's on the car and for the inspection. They're all the same. The only differences are stickers. You want a Chevy? Here's some Chevy headlight stickers. You want a Toyota? Here's your hood emblem or sticker for Toyota. Everything else, identical. So, kind of a 30-minute rant here. But if you really stood back and realized what's going on in the automobile industry, We're not talking just from the main three manufacturers and electric vehicles and our government mandates and push for 2035. Look at what has happened at every single racing syndicate within the United States or in the world for that fact. Look at how they've destroyed it. Racing at every level, on every type of surface, has been impacted not only by inflation, but because the way the organizations are running them. It's always about profit. Who the hell is going to pay $1,500 for a 2-barrel carburetor? Are you nuts? Who's going to pay $250 for a tire that lasts one race? Unless you have sponsors paying for those tires, your average racer is not going to be doing that. We have certain areas of the country, like the Southeast, the Carolinas, and that area, Pennsylvania and California, where individuals have lost the sight of you pay for what you get. You don't just pay whatever the cost is in the catalog. Look and find the parts that have been around. The 2-barrel Victor intake has been around for 40 years. You can find them on every single resale platform you can possibly find. Pick up your local newspaper. Go to Facebook Marketplace. Go to eBay. They're all over the place. They're a dime a dozen at every one of the car shows that you can go to. But individuals are going to pay $430 for a 2-barrel intake. Are you nuts? Okay. Folks, this is the way it's getting to be. Even some of your YouTube creators, some of these shops, certified GM Master Mechanic, we do all forms of it, and we're going to work on this diesel truck, and in order to replace one little cotter pin on the crank, it costs $25,000 because we have to take off the whole entire front of the truck, and we have $1 million worth of equipment behind us to verify what we are doing to replace one little piece of metal. You don't have mechanics, you have technicians. Former shop rates of $90 an hour. Now the manufacturers are saying this job takes 8 hours and charges $8,000 for the job. That stems into racing. How much people are willing to spend on things without the return on investment. For those of you that are purchasing a new vehicle, you pay $80,000 for it. Are you getting a return on investment? What's the resale value of that vehicle the moment you drive it off the lot? How much is that vehicle worth as soon as the warranty expires? Okay. So with that, even though this is not an instructional video, if you've stuck along this far into the video, just ask yourself, look around you. What are people willing to spend on junk? Prices have become insane. Tracks are closing down. There is no general consensus of what is acceptable and what's not. Somebody's trying to place a value on their abilities and much higher than the rest of the people in the exact same category. Just because of the label you're wearing on a shirt or what sticker might be on your car, that you're worth more than another individual that can do the exact same thing. You're not worth something that somebody else can do the same. You have no additional value to that if somebody else can do the exact same thing. You are not rare. You are not a diamond in the rough. A Chevrolet technician, you're one of 200,000 that exist. You're not worth $60 to $80 an hour. So with that, automobile racing, manufacturing, the tracks, everything in the automobile industry is just insane. It's because people are willing and are too dumb, sorry folks, are too dumb to continue evolving where you spend too much. When is there a line saying we're not going to cross this line? We have been past that for a long time. More tracks need to be closed down. Less racing organizations deserve attention from spectators. In order to get us back to where it's more competitive and more evolving around individual talent, we have to remove these rules and regulations of everybody being created equal. We're not. Have a good one.